Hello, it's great to be digitally still in the Midwest. It's Shiley from Chicago, but I am excited to be here and to check in with all of you who probably all can relate to all the snow situations we've been having. I'm going to stop your screen share. Cool?
Yep.
Great. I am looking forward to all of this. Definitely have some stories to tell. Slides are good. Yes? Amazing. So I'm Shiley from YourSocialMediaSherpa.com. There we go. Oh, thank you. Okay, here we go. So people might ask, what is a Sherpa? So a Sherpa is a mountain guide that helps someone get up the mountains of the Himalayas. But I am not athletic to take you up a mountain, but I can take you through the mountain that is marketing your own business. When businesses here get on Instagram, get on Facebook, get on Twitch, get on TikTok, it gets very overwhelming to know which strategy is right for you. So I help you kind of cut through all the noise and find the right path that's going to help you stay in touch with the people that matter most for your business, which is oftentimes your referral network. People who already know and adore you are going to be the ones that are going to keep coming back and keep sending new folks in. Yet so many people are doing their marketing with the hopes that some magical unicorn is going to fall from the sky and be their $1 million client. And it just doesn't work that way. We know how it works. We've all heard this statement of your referrals and your repeat customers are the easiest way to get business. Who's heard this before? Show of hands. Ooh. Yeah, we've heard this. See, I see Yvonne, Ryan. I love that. So that's what I really help them do. So where I want to go with this business, I want to be able to serve more companies, speak to more groups, train more folks so they can feel more empowered with the tools of the digital age. So let's see a little bit. Oh yeah. So what do I solve? So that is a bit of what I solve. Oftentimes I also solve the gap between the business leader, the business owner, and their marketing staff. A lot of times they hire someone maybe who's young, an intern, a college student, to go and say, hey, go do marketing. But there's no plan and no strategy, and there's no vision of what that looks like. Yet, I know like many of the business owners here, we know how to run our business. We know how to market. We just don't have the time to do it. So how do we replicate you and your skills and your connections with your people while you're growing and working on your business on the million other things that you have going on? So the process I take my clients through looks a little bit like this. The first thing I do, and this is a great, easy way to start working with me. It's one small thing that I do that is a big impact is I do a video review of essentially everything that I can find about you on the internet. So for a lot of folks, it's looking at your website. It's looking at your email sign-up situation. It's looking at your LinkedIn, your Twitter, if you've got one. Googling what comes up under your name. I had a guy that's a trainer recently. First thing I saw was some sort of criminal, some proceeding. I was like, oh no, that's not what you want people seeing of you. Ryan's like, oh yeah, I know. So you want to make sure that your future clients are Googling you and they want to figure out if you're good at the job. They want to find you guilty of not of a crime, but guilty of being the best person for the job. So from there, I send them the video. They watch me look at all their stuff. Then we go into a one-on-one, usually a 2-hour onboarding is what I call it, where I pull out. I know we here at this chapter love telling stories. That's the one thing I see people miss. They don't tell their story anywhere on the internet. So I pull out their story for them and I help teach them at least a couple skills that they want to know in their social media wheelhouse. And then from there, I usually do ongoing sessions to help answer their questions as they're going through. And the biggest thing, hold them accountable to their goals. Does anybody let themselves down with their social media goals? I'm sure, right? It's very easy to do that, especially when you don't see the possibilities and the fruitfulness that it can bring. So how did I become the Sherpa? This is crazy. So has anyone been to a BNI meeting before? Right? Business networking. Sarah's been there, right? Great for local connecting. I was at a BNI meeting and I was part of this group for a few months now. And one lady was like, Shiley, I don't know if I can hire you for social media. And honestly, they probably weren't in the right budget to spend $2, $3, $4 grand on social media. They were a little bit too small for that. But she's like, can I just pay you to sit down and teach me how to do this for myself? And I was like, Shiley, why does this sound so fascinating? I love motivating and encouraging people. I love teaching. I studied education at Indiana University. I know how to teach. this might be my perfect gig. So this is almost 2 years ago now. I've been exclusively teaching ever since. I teach at the University of Chicago. I teach for one of the premier LinkedIn coaches, and I help her coach 200 women on how to get more clients. So I do a lot of that motivating and cheerleading for them. So that's how I got into it. Someone gave me the name Sherpa after I was going by Your Social Media Teacher. She's like, we don't want that. So she's like, call yourself Sherpa. She held it in for 3 months before she told me I should change my name. So the folks that I best serve are usually the solo service business owners who are already kind of invested in their social media, who are very good connectors. I know we're talked about networking in here, but people who do have a lot of deep, meaningful relationships, we know that's how businesses build. But how are they staying top of mind with those people? That's what I help them do, because that's where their money and opportunity lies. And also I serve smaller companies, training their marketing staff with the knowledge of the business owner in a way that speaks to both of those languages, like a bridge. I've worked in so many different industries. There's a page on my website where you'll see I have an Indian matchmaker. I have a rabbi that is now a sleep consultant. I have a client that's selling a product at Whole Foods. I have a celebrity caterer. I've had the wildest mix. I have a chiropractor as well. A great mix of amazing entrepreneurs, and I love it. I get to try out, just like 1 Million Cups. I love this group. I've been going for like 5 years in my chapter. I love the variety that we have. I wanted to give you a few tips today that will get you moving on social media immediately. We know gratitude is a great thing to have, but is actually the greatest little simple social media hack. Anytime somebody interesting or worthwhile likes or comments on your stuff, send them a thank you message. As a teacher, positive reinforcement is a great way to get them to continue to do that in the future if you tell them they did a good job. With your LinkedIn, if you don't have a banner image showing you in a fresh, fun, positive light, update it. The skyline is okay, but show me you so I can build trust with you. Twitter, people are like, why should I get on Twitter? You don't have to worry about getting on Twitter. Just have a profile. It is your easiest way to get in touch with people who have never heard of you before, and it's a great way to build a relationship. I just got booked on a podcast because I did an outreach to a place where I could do speaking engagements, and he's like, be on my podcast. You can also, this is a great hack, if you look at your competitors, you can see who they're following, and chances are it's probably their clients who also have very poorly managed Twitter accounts. So great way to find that information. I've grown my business because I kick butt on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has been an amazing way to stay in touch with my network. The last 20 seconds, what do I need help with? So I wrote a little bit of a slide. There's a lot of things on here. I had an epiphany last night that structure is my problem. How do I structure various things in my business, like the process from getting my leads, which I do have a lot of inbound, to my sales process, to the first purchase. That is something I'm working on. And that's what I wrote in here. Thank you so much for the 8 minutes. And I would love to hear from you all. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Shiley. You're a little bit short on time to go through the what you need help with. So do you want to spend a little more time talking through this slide?
Yeah, I can talk it through a little bit more. Yeah, I wasn't sure how to put it all in together.
Yeah, and with everyone going into Q&A, I just thought it would,
yeah.
I didn't want, this is the most important slide, so wanted to give you the opportunity to talk through it.
I appreciate that. So I wrote down like the professional goals, which is like, of course, like everybody wants introductions to different places. I originally said VC firms. I'm not sure if they're right for me. People have been telling me make connections with people who lead Rotary clubs. So intros to that, high schools and colleges that want their students to shine on LinkedIn so they can get more job opportunities, and speaking to different chambers of commerce. Those are some more professional introductions. I know I talk fast. I'm trying so hard to talk slow, and I'm growing, and every time I do a speech, I'm getting better. That's something great. Things that I would love to know, if there's anything just quickly, or if you want to DM me, anything I should have added to this presentation, any information that you feel I missed, that's always good to know. I think I always love when I get questions that are like, that help me think about what I want. I'm realizing as I talk to more groups, there's certain things that I need to decide. Do I want to run like an adult tutoring company, which I wouldn't tell people that are my clients that, but do I want to run that way? Or do I want to run like a consultant? Do I want to grow my business to eventually sell it? How do I want it for the future? And I think that's something I'm still figuring out. But structure is interesting. Sales structure, and then also the process I take my clients through. I always want to polish that so they can leave with the best, strongest experience.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I'll have you pull your slides down as we move into
Great.
questions. If people have questions, I'll have you either raise your hand or type your question in chat, and I'll call on you. Shyly, because we have people on Facebook, if I call on someone, we'll allow them to read their question out loud and explain it so that everyone on Facebook can understand what the question was as well. It looks like we have a question from Yvonne right away.
Sure.
Hey, Shiley, could you talk a little bit about why you started this business and what that process looked like?
Oh man, why did I start this business? Well, I was doing social media unofficially since I was 14 on running a MySpace group as a young person. And I was studying education, but I didn't want to do education. And I got into volunteering my time generously, thinking I was going to get more opportunities with a charity group. And I didn't get paid for any of that, but I worked really hard on making this page amazing. And then I got paid for my first social media gig. And I was like, okay, there's an industry that has demand that I'm good at, that I enjoy. Because, and I guess my why a little bit is I was a kid that didn't have a lot of friends. And the first time I felt like I really made friends was through the MySpace community. That was my life changer. And so for me, everything that I teach my clients are the tools that I use to survive as a person that didn't have a lot of friends in middle school or in elementary school. So those skills about making friends on the internet 100% translate to my clients. So it's a little taste of it. And I knew there was demand and I knew that I was good at it. So all those pieces coming together and I'm still able to pay my bills with this business. So
that's very cool. You asked about ideas for getting from lead to sale.
Kind of, yeah. Like I have a process, but it's not really set up and I want to make it better.
So I'll encourage you to think about what it is people are afraid of, because that conversion is about risk reduction.
Oh yeah, it's a good mindset. Yeah.
Shiley, on the topic of having a specific process for sales, are you utilizing a CRM tool right now?
Yes, I have ActiveCampaign and it's linked up to emails as well. So every time I put someone in a 2-week bucket, it pings me in 2 weeks to be like, you should talk to them. Or if I put 6 months, it pings me in 6 months to talk to them. I have some of my notes in there, but I'm working at getting more of that in there. So I am staying in touch with people. I'm sure I could use it better, but I have it.
Does that have a deals pipeline? Some type of a pipeline process?
Yes, I have a deals thing. It looks kind of like a Trello board, but it's a deals. Okay. But I can use it better, I'm sure.
I found that utilizing those can be some of the best ways. You need to determine what your process is, and then as you go through it, you'll find out, well, I can't move this company to the right spot because none of these are part of it. But you'll realize, oh, this comes up a lot, right? So maybe one of the processes is, doing a demo or something like that, and you didn't have it on there. And you find out that enough companies are in that step, add it to that process. But you want to make sure first that process flows with how you actually do your deals. Otherwise, it just won't get used. That's what I've found in the past. And then you can make changes if you find out, well, I really want to make sure I'm doing this. You can add it in, but if it's just there as a board of like how in an ideal world your deals would go, it probably wouldn't get used.
I don't have an ideal world. I think you're hitting on something that I probably don't understand yet, and I really want to. Mm-hmm. So right now I like hit a gem. Like 2 weeks ago, I had a coach that I like love and adore. She was like, Shiley, you are all about your personality, yet why are you doing a lot of your work via either phone call or just, emails? And I'm like, yeah, that's not great. She's like, you should use more video. And I realized after seeing so many of these companies send video messages to people that might be my gold mine, because I'm significantly more confident on video than I am on a sales call. And it makes me nauseous. Like I want to vomit sometimes on sales calls. Because I don't know how to guide the call where I want it to go. So I sent people videos and I had a couple people be like, yeah, I want to buy based on me sending them videos back and forth. So that's been good. But I haven't done the thing where you're talking about like with the slides. I had another like seasoned salesperson say, make some slides. I don't necessarily give a whole like mini presentation as I'm selling them, but maybe I should. And you're saying that I can repeat some of that, those concerns on that call. Is that what I'm hearing, Ryan?
Well, now, that you've brought up a different issue, so that I was just talking about like, so when I said sales process, I'm talking about like what is the process you take a business down. So once a business reaches out to you, right? You have, this is a list of interested businesses. And then it's, I've scheduled appointments. And then it's, they've, you know, it might be that they've asked that I do a demo, or, you know, whatever that process is, you know, I've sent them an agreement, right? So you know that process that every business gets taken down to turn from a meeting
Oh,
into a sale. But in terms of your sales process and with the personality you've shown today, I've got to imagine that you are very interested in the person you're meeting with.
sure.
So to help avoid being nervous and on a sales call, you don't need to talk about yourself or your
Right.
business. In fact, it's not
Usually
useful to
don't.
talk to yourself or talk about yourself. So you know, I was a sales manager before I came here, and I had meetings that I left where someone had gone to me and said, one of my sales team members, and said we'd never told them a single thing about our business, but they had scheduled that next step because I spent the entire time asking that person about their business and showing that I was interested. And if people feel like you understand them, they don't even need to know what you do to be interested in working with you. So that would be my suggestion there is, especially for the first meeting, don't throw out the slides, you know,
Yeah, I
spend
don't
the entire
usually.
time asking them questions.
I have no slides that I send to them. So I don't send them. I ask them questions the whole time. It's guiding them to where I want them to go. I'm sure you have lots of great thoughts, and there's a lot of people in here too. So I'm soaking all this in
Yeah.
and writing notes like furiously. So I appreciate that. Thank you. This is great. So that's, yes, I ask them a lot of questions, but I don't always know how to like guide them to like, okay, let's work together. Cause the one thing I hate is if I've wasted my time on someone, a lead but I also am like, I had one guy tell me that he didn't Google me before we got on the phone. And I was like, I should have forced him to make sure to Google me. Cause that is I'm good at marketing. Like people will see what I do and they'll be like, oh yes, I need you. So lesson learned. Oh, Yvonne, I see your question. Advice from those of you who have done sales before.
I was just reaching out to the group to say, I know there's some folks on this call, on this Zoom, who've done a lot of sales. They've done a lot of sales of services. Bobby in the music industry, and you know, folks in a lot of other industries here. Lindsay's in marketing. You know, we've got some people who are people who deal with sales all the time with intangibles, right? Where it's a service, you don't have a thing you can show to somebody. How do you help, you know, move that person from, okay, I'm casually interested, to actually committing to working with you? I'd love to hear from everybody, and I think that'd be really helpful for you too.
Yeah, definitely learning. Yeah, because right now it's emailing back and forth. Sometimes I send them a survey to learn more about them. And then right now I've been sending people videos. Some still want to get on the phone, which is, I guess, fine. But they're usually much more sold after those videos than they are on the phone. So, and then when they buy, yeah.
Work. Yeah, keep doing it, you know.
I think what Ryan's hitting, I don't have it written all down in full. And I guess I can always tweak that process if I have it written as like a draft of a structure. But I should also be pushing people, if I've understood Ryan right, pushing people to like follow a path or something like that for consistency's sake, I think, from what I understand. I'm also in the chat as well.
Well, and so here's just an idea of like what having that process could do is then when you meet with someone after that first meeting, you know, you could ask them a question on, okay, when would you like to have this training finished by, right? When would you like to have your social media and be an expert so you can manage it successfully? And they'd give you a date. And now, because you have a process, you can back up from there and say, okay, well, if you want to have this done by this date, we're going to need to start training by this date. In order to start training by this date, we're going to need to have an agreement in place. And now you can create that sense of urgency for them. Because that's one thing about sales is a lot of people say, yeah, I want to sign. And then they just never respond and they push it off and off and off. But I see that Lindsay had a comment.
Yeah.
Bobby raised his hand. So Lindsay.
Ooh,
I was just going to say that, you know, you have calls with clients and you're talking about different projects. And I think what's helpful is outlining a proposal of like, here's the initiative, here's what I'm providing, here's the timeline, here's the objective, you know, like Just so everyone's on the same page of like, this is what I'm providing, this is what you need, right? Because if it's not, then this is where the time where we clarify that.
Yeah. So I struggle with like doing proposals, but I've learned to do them for like speaking engagements, which I had one say yes. So I was like, great, I can do that. With this, it's hard. Like I made a table, that pricing table, that it kind of explained what I did a little bit. And then I was kind of sending around to everybody. And then I was like, I don't know, it's going to price me out. So like, I'm trying to like, it's like, if I want this to feel custom, do I not show them like an outline of it? Like how much, like, should I have one that I share with everybody? Maybe from what I'm hearing from Brian, I should have a process where I have at least some outline to show them. Like, is that what I'm hearing? Like if I reused the same one and adapted it per person, is that like a way for me to do it that is still feeling custom, but also prepared and clear for them? Lindsay? Or anybody in the chat? Oh, you're mute.
Echoing that a little bit too, where I always like samples where it's like relevant to the business that you're working with or talking to, where it's like, hey, if you're trying to help market for Target or try that, or whoever it is, it's like, make sure it's relevant to that business entity. And, you know, everybody's going to have their different niches. So just trying to get it to be relevant.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah. I have stories that I tell usually.
Yeah, with my business, I had a proposal template that I would start with, but I customized the introduction based on the intake interview that I had done to focus on the things that they had said were most important to them. And then I made sure that the, proposal delivered that. Bobby's got his hand up.
Yes, in the music business, I only can speak for the music business here because that's where my program has been most of my life. But it's very difficult to sell a song to a corporation that is like, if you remember back in the days when the Embers, remember the Embers, songs that make a difference in the lives of your presentation. When you make a presentation to a company, if they have a musical identity, it becomes, the musical identity is usually the identity that sticks, not the presentation. It's the musical identity. And that's only because of our history in human beings as dance and song and dance. And that is the missing link in the last 20 years, 10 years especially. I've noticed that we went through a phase in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s where everything had a musical identity. And today, the musical identity hasn't been in a sales presentation. I would say 90% of it has left us. All of a sudden, it's digitalized. It's a digital ceremony. It's a dee-dee-doo-doo, or it's a phone identity, or it's a kind of a YouTube identity. It's very short, very brief, and very matter of fact. If that is the identity that you're trying to project, all I'm suggesting is that music, the first thing for your presentation should be a musical identity. And if you had something that you like, that you can live with for the rest of your life, that's the most important part. I would suggest writing a song, or having somebody else that you like in the system that writes, and add music into your presentation, especially your own identity music. I think it's something that will stick with you forever.
Interesting. I wrote some songs when I was like 10 years old that I thought were great. They were not, but I tried. But music, maybe, and there's a lot right now with audio branding of like, what sound does my business make? And like music before a Zoom call is like a real cool thing. So it's interesting. I appreciate that. That is definitely something that people are not expecting.
Right, and it's very it's kind of like a something that you don't they will carry with you, and they don't need anything to carry it with. It'll be there forever and ever. And like your songs, when you wrote them in 10, I bet you can sing them today.
Yeah, with my funny, goofy voice, I would totally do it. Why not? I think it'd be entertaining. Quite honestly, it'd probably be funny.
Well, there you go. You know, and it's a it's something that that it brings it to the heart of most people on a global basis. You know, it doesn't have the music doesn't need a language, so that's the most. You know, it has a global effect. So, very good. I enjoyed your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm getting lots of ideas from the chat as well. So thank you. I'm like wondering now, I used to have a slide with like my pricing table, and I'm like, maybe I need to make that as like, here's my process and here's what I would put you through, and maybe even customize it as the clients are looking at it. Because that's what I did with the speaking engagements. I made a page on my website that had a bunch of my testimonials in it about speaking, and then had I wonder if I don't know if that's a little overkill, but maybe that's something that'll impress them. Interesting.
Kylie, I really like that idea. I've found that when people know what the process is, they're much more comfortable with it, because people fear the unexpected. So having that I think that's a great idea.
Yes.
Out on Facebook Live, Matt Lassard said, value proposition is key for the potential client to see a clear benefit. Testimonial client case studies are good. And to add on to that, you said you're really successful with video, maybe video testimonial case studies.
Oh yeah, I have recordings of testimonials, but I don't know if I asked them permission to use the video, but I should. But I do video, I record their voice and testimony. It's just a great hack for anybody. I have a survey that I do verbally, and then they say how they really feel, and then I transcribe it. And usually those are way better testimonials than if I just say, hey, give me a testimonial, because I can actually address the problems that they have. So anyway, those are on the coaching page on my website. That's a great idea. I should be the next one I do. I should record it. Interesting.
Then I put something in chat. I'll just mention for the video and for the folks on Facebook too, that you might think about an infographic style of proposal. You know, kind of like make an infographic, a one-page, thing that you can change the items out in, but make it real infographic-y, and then you could make a video around that. Or use it for a Prezi video presentation and have it like fly in bits,
That would be cool. I need to play with that. I'm so excited. Yes, I've learned a lot. I think as a result, I should make a page on my website that has a basic outline of everything and make a new copy of it and send that as a proposal to folks and make them feel really special. And I could probably make a new one pretty quickly. So maybe that's what I take from it. And I could walk them through that at the end of the call if they're warmed up. Oh, I'm hearing a lot of head nods. Okay, so I've already learned so much, so I am still soaking it in. This is great. If there's more in the sales stuff, I'm still learning and growing on it. The other piece of it is like, I want to make sure, and I think a lot of people do this, where like there is a very strict goal with every one of the phone calls, and I'm always trying to get like better about like the value-based pricing versus like, I don't want to do hourly rate. I don't really do hourly rate, but it's borderline, and I don't like that. So I'm trying to get away from that and still grow. So that's something I'm wondering about. And then what the bookend is of their whole experience. I want to make sure it's crystal clear. So structure.
Shiley, while people are thinking through some suggestions on that, I have another question for you.
Yeah, please.
One of the things you mentioned at the start of the presentation was the importance of having repeat customers and referrals. And your program is about teaching people how to do things themselves. So just asking, what do you do to get repeat customers?
So this is great. So it took a lot of nerve for me to make sure to do this. I've been hosting client-only networking events. And it's already paid. It's paid for my time already. So it's already paid back some, and it's already opening people's eyes to more referrals. So that's what I've been doing to make sure I stay in touch with them. Some of those clients came from referrals as well. I've had different people at chambers, I've had lots of referrals from chambers, which has been really nice. A lot of my folks are very active in their chambers. So that's been really good, just re-engaging them that way. And also every time I post on LinkedIn, a lot of people in my network remember, hey, Shiley had a really good insight today. Oh, I should remember that. And I tell people, a mentor of mine, or not a mentor, like somebody I worked with on a very big deal conference in Chicago, like 5 years ago, I messaged her to say, thank you, use my tips, said, thank you for engaging with the post about me. And she's like, oh, Shiley, I might have questions for you. And I'm like, I wonder what she could ask about. We haven't spoken much in the last few years. Where else has she gotten to know me? The tools of social media, like, hello. So I do have that working for me as well to keep top of mind. And I have marketing going out every other week that I've set up painfully last year. So there are ways that people are I'm staying in their heads, and I teach my clients to do very similar stuff because my clients, they have the network. That's the audience that most people don't realize they already have. It's the hugest win they have on social media, but they don't use it. So that's what I do now. And then the next one's on February 12th. So I'm very excited. I might have some new clients join in there too. So that's a great way. Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah.
I was thinking too about where you're at in your, the career of your business, and I'm wondering what would be a good partner for you. What other organizations would dovetail into what you do well, without overlapping too much. I found when my business was new that those partnerships were really key to, again, to finishing up those sales, right? But also finding new customers that I would have never had exposure to.
Yes.
What kind of an organization, what kind of a partnership is most beneficial for your company? And maybe that will spark some of the folks who are here to think of somebody around here that might partner with you.
Yes, that is a great question. So the bigger pieces of my pie are people that I work with consistently. So two of my biggest pies that I've had is working with other business consultants. So like one of my clients, I help her coach 200 women, and I work with her consistently for the last, year and a half. 2 years, almost 2 years. I met her almost 2 years ago. One of my clients last year, they're also business consultants, and I helped them coach their clients. So I had one of the clients I worked with every single week, and now I'm telling you, she's probably a social media manager. She's in her late 60s, and she's kicking butt on all sorts of social media. And I'm like, yay! So I love when I can work with someone who already has a pool of entrepreneurs that need help. So in my mind, I was like, oh, VC firm might be a good example, or like some sort of I do a lot at University of Chicago. Like they have a system. Like, is there a way that I can be brought on to help a lot of people, or to be hired on to serve anybody that wants to sign up with time for me and kind of be paid by the institution? That's something that people who have large groups of folks who they need trained, I can come in and do that. And I've been asked by different groups to do those kinds of trainings, or to be have an open one-on-one thing. So people who already have a lot of entrepreneurs under their belt that all need various levels of social media insight and knowledge. That would be great for me because I can help in a lot of different ways. Every one of my clients is at a different stage, so I can get them to the next hump.
I'm going to challenge you on that and say,
please.
Yeah. And say, what don't you have in your portfolio that a partner could provide for you? Not just the connections to other folks, but in terms of, maybe it's the structure piece, or, something like that. Like for me, it was graphic design. I had a strong team of programmers to create websites, but I didn't have anyone else great at graphic design. So I would look for partners that were strong in graphic design, but weak in programming, and then partner up with them.
Interesting. I mean, as a writer that I'm hiring right now to do my FAQ page, and I've had some clients that, I'm not a writer. I hate writing. Like I struggle so bad, and I'll pull someone's story out, and probably in a very similar way that a writer would. But for me to edit that and craft it is like hurts my brain. So she's taking me through her process where she's asking me questions on video, and she's going to use that to write questions. And I'm wondering, like, I have a client that would have been perfect for that last summer, and I'm wondering she might still want it. So I'm like, I could partner with her and have her do the writing parts. Because a lot of times I'm not as focused on execution, but like I stop my leads from like hiring the wrong agency or like hiring the wrong resource. So because they're not going to, I just know that's not the right place for them. So that's a great partner, like writers, potential. Well, I think I'm a good partner for writers because I've been told to go to social media people, but it's tricky. Yeah.
Mike has a suggestion for you.
Oh, I see that. And yes, Mike said many VCs have webinars for startups. They bring in other businesses to present to their company. So, okay, cool. Are those, Okay. What are those like? What should I look for, Mike? Or like how do those run?
Especially right now with the COVID-19 going on, the virtually everything is on webinars now as opposed to in person. And so what they do, and these are probably medium-sized to larger type VC organizations.
Mm-hmm.
They bring in, they have like maybe a couple webinars per year, and they try to present something like maybe the financial process of starting up a company. That company may sell a software package for that particular feature or whatever. But anyhow, one of the concerns for many startups is the social media side of things. They may be better on something else, and they really don't have time to do the social media side of things. So
Fact.
they would probably be willing to have somebody present to their audience, a company that does social media, for example. And as a matter of fact, I'm joining one in a couple hours today, and that, it's a VC that they bring in like maybe a couple hundred businesses, maybe 100 businesses, and have several presenters that basically pitch their company or their business to the entrepreneurs that are starting up new businesses. And I think that would be a really good fit for a social media type company.
Oh, interesting. Thank you for sharing that. I'm excited for you to go. Like 200 people are coming to this event today. That sounds like a blast. Good for you. That sounds awesome.
So, yep.
Can I follow up with you on that post to see if there's some places that at least they need to at least see that I exist, if anything, as an option?
I don't really have the connections, but there are, if you search on the internet for venture capitalists, they have a lot of websites out there.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Thanks.